saw 50 frickin' movies from last year. Those who don't follow my Twitter or Letterboxd account are probably really surprised by that, and that's fair, as I didn't really do very many video reviews, or I didn't even cover everything on Twitter or anything, for those of you who follow me there. I'm going to try much harder this year, since I've been given more means to watch more movies in theaters and stuff. But yeah, in this video, I'm going to talk about every new release I watched in 2018. I don't want this video to be overly long, so these aren't going to be full reviews, and also I'd like to note, this is not a ranking video. If you want to see that kind of stuff, go follow my Letterboxd account, which has been linked in the description below. So, without further ado, I'm going to be going through all 50 movies in chronological order of when they released, not when I watched them. So, yeah, let's get into it. First movie, Paddington 2. So, I was really freaking tired as crap when I watched this movie the first time. I watched it again pretty recently, like last night as of recording this. But even when I was tired, this movie brought a smile to my face as well as tears. Hot take, I still prefer the original, just because I kind of like the story better. But this really upped the character for me. I think the cinematography is really underrated. Like, every single shot of this freaking thing deserves like a one perfect shot Twitter post, if you know that account. Like, it's just such a beautiful looking movie. It's such a well acted movie. It's just delightful. Like, if you're ever in a bad mood, please go watch either the first one, which I recommend a little more, or this one. But they work well together, and oh my god, they're delightful kids movies. Some of the best I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, my dumb butt forgot to mention it, but it's an 8 out of 10.
American Animals, best January movie ever, maybe? Holy cow, this is a movie. Everything about the presentation is phenomenal. Cinematography, music, and editing, save for one scene where the cuts were a little jarring, kind of lazy. But like, that's such a nitpick, and otherwise pretty perfect movie. The scene where it shows one character, I mean, it feels kind of weird saying that because, they're real people. But it shows the character's perspective of a buyer they encountered, and then it rewinds to show another's perspective of the situation, like his memory. So freaking cool. More biopics need to be like this. And the story, wow. How interesting that they added so much artistry to a movie that must be fairly factual, considering they included the 4 real-life perpetrators in this movie for an interview. No joke. I know a lot of people haven't seen this movie. Please check it out. There's just something oddly beautiful about this gritty, depressing movie, and I honestly can't really describe why. I loved how the people who stole the art from that collection became artists after prison. It just, this awful real world event just like came together to make this just thematically satisfying movie that feels like it was someone wrote a narrative out of it, even though it's like all true, and honestly that just enhanced it for me. And, I know they're ex-cons and all, but I just love to sit down and talk with these guys, This is the most unique biopic I've ever seen, and the most enthralling, interesting film of the year. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Do not take that lightly. I don't give many movies that rating, but this movie is just incredible. It's probably not for everyone, it's a very kind of intense movie. There's some humor, but it's definitely not something you want to show your grandma. However, it's not a wholesome movie for if you want to be in a good mood like Paddington 2, but it's just such a fantastic, underrated movie. And we're gonna take a bit of a dive here. Cloverfield Paradox. Full disclosure, it's kind of cheating to put it on this list. I couldn't finish this movie because it was so bad. It was just bland looking. There were just unnecessary, just like views from like the ship and outer space. Like every attempt to carve out its own identity, if there were any, was so lost on me. It's just, it was so poorly acted. The characters were so just freaking, they were just so stiff. I didn't care about any of them. Like, ugh. It feels like a bad Star Trek episode, like a bad modern Star Trek episode. And yeah, so from the 20 or 30-ish minutes I saw of it, I give it a 2 out of 10. I don't, you know, those of you who have sat through more boring, stupid, bad, dumb Netflix movies that have practically put the company in debt, let me know if I'm crazy and should give it a lower score. I don't know, maybe it deserves a 1 out of 10. Like, you know, maybe I'm being a little harsh, but I couldn't, I was so disinterested in continuing it. Does anything interesting happen? Is it all just weird crap, parasites coming out of the wall? Just random crap like that? With this whole thing of, oh, it's connected to the Cloverfield universe. Yeah, can we have some payoff for that maybe sometime? Because 10 Cloverfield Lane was genuinely a pretty good movie. I wasn't expecting it to be pretty good. And I kind of liked the ending. I thought it left a lot for sequel territory. And then they'd come out with this, which was just a marketing scheme that they made into a movie. Game night. I don't have much to say on this. What can I say? It didn't make me laugh very much. The visuals and score were kind of cool, but otherwise it was just kind of meandering. 5 out of 10. Black Panther, I've already talked about this twice. Fun movie, not perfect, kind of overrated, still pretty good. 8 out of 10, I guess. Annihilation, this is kind of a divisive one. I wanted to love this film. The characterization is unfortunately really kind of weak and poorly written, and the whole meaning of this movie is a little bit pretentious for my taste. It's not the greatest metaphor at all. It's not really queer. It didn't hit me anywhere in particular. Some of that's personal preference, but genuinely the character writing is pretty base level. I wasn't that interested in the cast here. On a technical level, this movie's great though. Love the score, like the atmosphere of it. Visuals were pretty gorgeous, and yeah, there were some pretty cool sequences, namely the weird bear, screaming bear thing. That was kind of cool. It just, you know, and there's some horrific, disgusting crap in here I was not expecting. But yeah, it wasn't nearly as good as Ex Machina, which I think is a modern masterpiece. One of the best films of the 21st century, in my opinion. But yeah, this one, it's okay. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Thoroughbreds. Yeah, this movie's freaking awesome. I wasn't sure if I would give it an 8 or 9 at first, but as Amanda says in the movie, the only thing worse than being incompetent or unkind or even evil is being indecisive. So I'll drop a 9 on this bad boy. So overlooked. Go watch it right now. It's not the most like deep movie of the year, but I think if you're a fan of this type of humor, you're gonna like it. It's probably the funniest movie of the year, to be honest. Love, Simon, probably one of the better teen romance movies and even teen movies out there. It's in the camp of The Fault in Our Stars in quality. Well, I think it's actually better than A Fault in Our Stars. The Fault in Our Stars. I really liked Simon's character, and he wasn't perfect, and it was more about the anxiety of coming out that would superseded any kind of cliche like, ooh, they won't accept me, blah blah blah, or any of that crap that I could tell was gonna be bad and boy erased. I was like, I don't want to watch that movie. It's some Oscar bait, stupid crap that, like, this is a progressive film. It is current year, after all, and this film actually has a happy ending, which I bet was nice for the gay community. It definitely falls into some of the expected genre tropes as with all these movies, but it had enough that was pretty unique about it for me to really enjoy it. And it was just really well done and well acted. 8 out of 10. I love dogs. It's just a really fun, chill movie with an amazing presentation and animation style. Not much more to say. It's a movie that doesn't really expect much of you, but it delivers a nice little quirky adventure like Wes Anderson seems to do from, the few movies I've watched of his. And this is probably my favorite of the 3 I've watched, to be honest. And I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, there's some people that would put it lower, some people would put it like, whoa! But I'm more in the middle. Ready Player One. Oh. Honestly, I could do an entire video about this movie, but I'll try to keep it brief because we have a lot of films to go through. Let me start by saying I actually hate this movie more than the book. And the book is awful. Well, not awful, but it's bad. All of the interesting stuff was stripped away from the source material. It's super Hollywoodized, and that bothered me. It really bothered me how easy the quests in this movie were. I understand they had to change them and make them more exciting, because the ones in the book were like, really, this is just Ernest Cline wanting to put some nostalgia in this book. It's just a big nostalgia fest excuse of a book. But seriously, they had to race backwards first, and that was it. Also, the group of friends were not built up at all, and they're working together from the start, and they're all in the same location, which is not something that's in the book, which was realistic, and I like that. It seemed like this movie did not really do a lot in the world building department. The book's world building is extremely annoying because it's all exposition garbage told in this really annoying teen voice thing that some crappy authors do to make it more relatable, but it's just really bad. But yeah, this movie is just lazily slapped together. I felt for the first hour this story was not progressing at all. And that was just a bunch of really terrible narrated exposition schlock, and then everything happened at once at the third act. Rushed as heck. The only real improvement I could say is the relationship between Halliday and Morrow. And I guess Wade isn't as annoying as he was in the book, but he's more boring. He didn't feel as cookie cutter in the book. He wasn't amazing, but he had a character at least, even though it was a really bad character. But yeah, that was about all it improved. This movie is incredibly generic and bland, and it has terrible dialogue. Oh my god. Some parts in this movie had me laughing out loud. Yeah, it's a 4 out of 10, maybe a 3, I don't know. I'm really just giving it a 4 because it was hilarious. This is a funny bad movie, I would say. Along the lines of Spider-Man 3. And I know there's a lot of people who really enjoy this movie. I'm happy for you, dude, but, this is another one of those divisive ones. It has positive Rotten Tomatoes score and everything, but I just was not a fan of it at all. Blockers. A lot of comedies nowadays follow this sort of highly improvised, raunchy formula where, in my opinion, the jokes go on far too long, and the story is completely thrown to the wayside. I think while Judd Apatow does not make, he doesn't make terrible movies, at least from what I can see. I thought 40-year-old version was okay. He is kind of to blame for this, but this movie is, 1, funny, and 2, actually kind of heartfelt, and has a good message. Go check it out. It is supremely underrated, and I think it's pretty great. Honestly, I wasn't really expecting to enjoy it that much. I'm not a big fan of this genre at all. They rarely impress, but this one, pretty good. Give it a watch. Give it a go. 8 out of 10. You Were Never Really Here. This could have been an interesting movie, except it wasn't at all. 3 out of 10. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love this movie, but I was just watching a series of quiet, long takes of tension and no story progression. The plot of this was like, what? Like, there was a synopsis there, and they were just like, no. And it was just, it used the cliched short excerpts of a flashback, and at the end of the movie they sort of come together, except they really didn't. It was not satisfying at all. I did not like this movie. 3 out of 10. Quiet Place. A short and sweet horror film that comes with some serious moments of dumb. I don't want to get into spoilers, but oh my god. There's this one part that makes absolutely no sense. And I don't get why people think this is one of the best movies of the year. It's really not. Still like it though. 7 out of 10. Infinity War, you already know I love this movie. It's blockbuster heaven, basically. Biggest movie of the year, brought all our heroes together in an awesome battle against a great villain. Surpassed expectations. Kind of subverted them a little bit, maybe. Yeah, it's good. Probably better than many people give it credit for.
It's also a 9 out of 10. What are you doing, dude? Remember to say the ratings. That's your job.
First Reform, solid drama with great performances that touch on some interesting and relevant topics. And I'm not going into spoilers, but how? Why would he do that to himself? Those who have seen this movie know what I'm talking about. 8 out of 10. Deadpool 2, same deal with Black Panther. I used to not like it that much, and now I do. Still not as good as the first one, nowhere near as good as the first one. People saying that are on something. Mostly the humor is to blame. I actually think it was the weakest part of the movie, which is not good for a Deadpool movie. This is a Deadpool movie. It probably should have better humor than this. I felt a lot of it was recycled, and some of it was just lost all subtlety or cleverness at times. You know, there's some laughs to be had, and it's entertaining. But honestly, what worked most for me was surprisingly the emotional department, which suffice it to say, no one was probably expecting. Also, it's really too bad they're moving on with the X-Force series, because otherwise this could go down as one of the best trilogies of all time, and thank God they're making a Deadpool 3. Okay, never mind, I don't care if you make X-Force. I would rather have Deadpool 3 first, but whatever. I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10. Solo, a Star Wars story. Oh my god, this movie was fun. You guys are just mean. Watch Cosmonaut Variety Show's video about it. I agree with him. As well as my 15-minute one. Masterpiece, not to brag. Speaking of which, I had a whole debate on r/YouTubers with some random stubborn guy who got mad that I admitted I didn't put much editing into it as I could have because I had to leave for a trip. Apparently, according to him, I should wait several weeks after the movie is irrelevant and my video wouldn't get many views just to make sure I make the most flawless piece of content I could possibly make. Yeah, okay, this guy doesn't understand YouTube at all. Oh yeah, the movie, it was fine. 7 out of 10. Upgrade. For what this film was trying to be, it was so much freaking better. Really loved this one. Really gritty action thriller with some awesome fight choreography, a visual style that doesn't look like it came from a low budget. Pretty good visual effects considering. Great performance from Logan Marshall Green and a wonderful electro soundtrack. There was a surprising amount of depth too, even though it borrows from other sci-fi stories of years past. This movie feels pretty relevant with oodles of commentary on how technology is destroying our free will and how our lives aren't really private anymore. Mark Zuckerberg would freaking hate this movie. It isn't perfect enough to be named along Terminator 2 and Aliens in the sci-fi genre. You know, it doesn't do as much as those films. Some of the side characters were pretty flat. which isn't a huge issue because the film relies so heavily on Gray, and he's incredibly interesting. But still, yeah, it's worth noting. However, I could definitely see this gaining a cult status in the future. 9 out of 10. Better than a lot of people give it credit for. I was seeing the people give it, 6s and that type of stuff, but I honestly loved it. Also, this is weirdly similar to Venom, except it's good. So if you haven't seen Venom, don't watch Venom, go watch this movie instead. It's probably what you wanted that movie to be, except, it's much better. Hereditary, yeah, I don't know, man. Horror movies just aren't my thing. They never scare me, and they always feel a little undercooked. Take my review with a grain of salt, obviously, but I just didn't find the story very fulfilling despite the excellent cinematography and haunting performances. I can note certain scenes that were very disturbing and prompted a serious reaction in me. Those scenes didn't accumulate into a wholly satisfying story. Not going to divulge into spoilers, but just the direction this movie takes just did not have enough build-up and development, at least not the kind I wanted to see. I'm not a big fan of these Easter egg type crap, movies. I would rather feel emotionally invested rather than be tested for my acute vision because I wear glasses, dude, so please don't make your movie with that in mind. 6 out of 10. 3 Identical Strangers. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything about this movie. It's been a pretty good year for non-fiction movies, and no, I haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever. This movie's great, and I walked away having even less faith in humanity. Have fun! 8 out of 10. Leave No Trace. It's just sort of a slow, serene movie with some pretty great performances and some depth, story depth that's just begging to be more developed. A decent watch, but definitely not one of the more exciting or revolutionary movies to come out of this year. Definitely had some potential, but it didn't quite stick as much as I wanted it to. So 7 out of 10. Won't You Be My Neighbor? Never watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but this was so darn touching anyway. It's just a documentary. It's not trying to do anything wild or different, aside from some really cool animated scenes that were sprinkled in there. But yeah, it was just great. 8 out of 10. Tag. Grown men play tag for 2 hours. I mean, it was funny, not the most creative. Many scenes felt very unrealistic and definitely did not happen in real life. I cannot stress this enough. This is still a Hollywood bastardization of real events. It made it, it made it more entertaining, but I'm ready for people to start learning, hey, you're kind of mismarketing your movie a little bit here, but they're not going to stop, So yeah, some scenes just kind of dragged, but it's still pretty good. The critics were a little harsh on this one. 7 out of 10. Incredibles 2. I loved it. Marginally less good than the first, but definitely a great follow-up. It told a much different story, and there was some solid social commentary I think a lot of people overlooked with the villain and everything. I like where they went with the story, even if some parts are a little predictable. I think if you've seen it, which you probably have, you know what I'm talking about. Also, yes, Baby Jack should definitely fight Thanos in Avengers Endgame. 8 out of 10. Sorry to bother you, the first 30 minutes were really good, and after that it's still good, but this crap ain't subtle at all. And some stuff in here really did not need to be in the movie, and it was just there to make it more weird and radical and out there just for the sake of it, which I wasn't a fan of. 7 out of 10. Ant-Man and the Wasp, maybe the most disappointing movie of the year. Hayden Reed, as a director, has absolutely no vision, making this movie feel really ill-fitting for the third phase of the MCU, where even the big crossover events like Civil War and Infinity War don't feel much like products anymore. But this is their worst movie since Age of Ultron. I think the fact that nobody talked about this movie, aside from the post-credits scene, speaks to how unmemorable and bland it was. This challenges the assumption that we needed a palate cleanser after Avengers: Infinity War. How about an above-average film? 5 out of 10. Blindspotting, I think people exaggerate how much this movie makes you think. Half this movie is just them goofing off at the moving company. It didn't really add anything. The last 30 minutes are pretty incredible. One of the best scenes of the year, and you know what I'm talking about if you've seen this movie, which a lot of you probably haven't. But by the end of it, it was more of a collection of pretty entertaining scenes that just didn't mesh together to make like a great movie. So 7 out of 10. But Mission Impossible Fallout, oh my god, this really is as good as they say. This is probably the movie that I most agree with everyone when they talk about this movie, because like I have the same, sort of issues with it that other people do, but I have so many more praises. I can just list off things that need to be gotten right in an action movie, and Fallout nails every single one of them. It's the best in the series, judging from the last 3 that I've seen. One of the best action movies of all time. No joke. It's really good. 9 out of 10. I'm buying the collection, and I'm watching the freaking first 3. I'm in. I like this franchise. Tom Cruise, he's a crazy person, but he's bringing this amazing series to life. Excited to see the next 2. I hope it sounds like it's like a 2-parter since it's back-to-back. I do want them to just end it there, because I don't want this, this series to be dragged in the dirt. Because, obviously there are some elements here that are, kind of deja vu from other movies, but they still found a way to make it fairly fresh and, take these characters in much more dangerous places. They up the stakes every single time, and I love that. Teen Titans Go to the movies, maybe the biggest surprise of the year. And I know it's a big cliche, but this movie really was better than it had any right to be. As far as recent DC movies go, it's surpassed by like Lego Batman movie, and that's about it. That's right, this is better than Wonder Woman. Suck on it, Rotten Tomatoes. 8 out of 10. So good. Teen Titans. 8th grade. Whoa. The most authentic movie I have maybe ever seen. Like, are these actors? Is this a script? Is this a director? And the answer is yes. And that makes it all the more impressive. How did Bo Burnham pull this amazing film off? Like, how did he capture this setting this well? Elsie Fisher is my runner-up pick for Best Actress behind Toni Collette, and Bo Burnham should absolutely get a nod for Best Original Screenplay, because this movie impressed the heck out of me. 8 out of 10. Christopher Robin. It was cute, alright? Screw you guys. I don't need to explain myself. 6 out of 10. Man, IGN was so harsh on you little pooper kids. You're great. You're doing good. I'm sorry you made so little money. I'm sorry you're being outgrossed by bland freaking reboots of crap everyone's seen, and they point out, they'll be like, oh, remember that? Whereas you tried to do your own thing, and I liked it. I liked you, poo. This movie was not poo. It was good, alright? It's not great, but it's fine. Miseducation of Cameron Post. I just want to say one thing to clear it up. This is not a teen movie. Honestly, this movie is a little too mature to put it in the category of something like Love, Simon, as much as I love that movie. It's definitely something more, and for the love of God, no pun intended, go rent this film right now. It's definitely an overlooked one. 9 out of 10. BlacKkKlansman. It was pretty good. Really do not understand all the controversy about the depiction of cops. Like, did they just go to the bathroom or something during some of these scenes in the movie? Like, that's the only explanation that I can come up with. Yeah, I thought this movie was really important. Historical inaccuracies and all. Ending really hit hard. 8 out of 10. Don't listen to Boots Riley. I'm sorry, Boots. I did like Sorry to Bother You. I thought it was fine. I thought it was pretty good. But boy, you bad take on this movie. Bad. This movie's good. Congrats, Spike Lee. You're the man. I haven't watched a single other one of his movies. But good job. Good job, man. This was a good movie. Crazy Rich Asians. Why did I watch this? The things I do for you guys, man. I like romantic comedies, but Chief, this ain't it. 5 out of 10. I don't understand the kind of praise that this is getting. Insane that it was nominated for any Golden Globes. It's insane that some people think it's one of the best of the year. Stop. Diversity is cool. But this movie, not cool. Oh, didn't hate it. Didn't like it. It's just blah. Searching. Okay, I have a few nitpicks. One, Windows XP does not have that good of a camera. My Windows 7 laptop has 1,000 times worse of a camera than that one. People don't type that fast either. Also, clicking on articles does not make them open in new tabs as much as I wish that were true. But other than that, this is a really solid mystery with some great social commentary on what parents will do for their kids and how the media responds to a crisis. I thought making this film take place entirely on a screen was a smart idea that actually contributed to some of the themes and enhanced the storytelling. So, suck on that, Unfriended. You suck. This movie, though, does not suck. 9 out of 10.
Sorry for the inconsistent setup / quality or whatever. I realized after editing this that I forgot one of my top 10 movies of the year. Fahrenheit 11/9, directed by Michael Moore. Really interesting documentary from one of the best political voices today. It's just it's a different turn for Michael Moore. I expected him to talk about Trump, but you're not going to get the same type of crap that everyone else has been saying. Like, and I was just, after watching this, I was just so upset with the establishment. I feel like not enough people are seeing this movie because it really is that powerful. I learned a lot, and I just, while there are clips that show, more Trump stuff I haven't heard of, what the bar's been set pretty low and, went even lower. But there's just so much stuff about Democrats, too. I came away just overall just loathing the establishment we have right now in government. And yeah, that was just kind of nice. There's some really shocking stuff about Obama I had never heard about that made me lose all respect for him. I normally don't get political, but it's just one of those documentaries. And there have been a lot of those documentaries / nonfiction films, biopics this year. And this is just another great slammer from Michael Moore. I'm sorry, I'm a fanboy of his. This is fantastic.
Venom! It's sort of like watching someone with shaky hands trying to use a protractor. Just pick an angle. And that is the opening line to my way longer than it deserves Letterboxd review of this movie. Just read that. This movie's bad. It's not even that funny bad, it's just bad. But it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. You can watch it. Some people freaking enjoy it. Good for them. I didn't. 3 out of 10. A Star is Born. I know everyone wants me to rave on this movie, but I just can't. Bradley Cooper's good. Lady Gaga is okay. The music's pretty good. The only memorable song is Shallow. All the technical stuff is pretty stunning, aside from some pretty bad editing at parts. Not a lot of people are talking about that. Maybe it's just me, but I was not a fan of it. It's just like one character's in a place. No transition, no showing how they transported to the other place. Hard cut to that place. It was really, really not good editing at some bits. But yeah, it's just bogged down by some really cringy romantic dialogue scenes a la Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, circa 2012, a la Amazing Spider-Man. And there's just not enough development for these characters. And also, I was just kind of expecting this movie to be a little more fun. Like, I did not enjoy seeing this person's rise to fame. It really wasn't depicted interestingly at all. I was expecting it to win me over, but it just really didn't. 5 out of 10. First Man, Ryan Gosling was not that stoic in this movie, guys. Jesus. He was more subdued in Blade Runner 2049, which has been declared a masterpiece for some reason. Y'all need to chill. 7 out of 10. Also, the flag crab. Like, who are you? Who are you? The hate you give, it falls into a lot of extremely annoying teen movie tropes that did bother me because it took away from the movie in this one, and it was just it at some points it tried not to be that type of movie, and then it just fell flat on its face into that type of movie. So, like, the excessive narration, the whole cute boy thing, that led to some extreme cheeseball moments. But there are also some really tense moments and a powerful message that held it up. Pretty much this movie is exactly what you're expecting it to be from the promotional material. Nothing more, nothing less. 8 out of 10. Beautiful Boy. I definitely disagree with people who said this was emotionally manipulative or whatever. It felt pretty genuine to me. Performances from the two lead, no Golden Globes. Timothy Chalamet is not a supporting actor. Are you kidding me? The movie is literally named after him. So yeah, the two lead performances were pretty great and Oscar-worthy in my opinion. Unfortunately, as terrible as this sounds, I feel really weird saying this, the storytelling for this true life story was a little underwhelming. I felt like the screenplay did sort of what it had to do, but not much more than that. There are definitely some pieces missing. Let Me Explain, great channel. Arturo Zurita, or whatever his name is, talked about that pretty poignantly, in my opinion, about just the stuff that makes this film a little unsatisfying in some regards. But it's definitely a good film that got overshadowed by some more, let's say, out there Oscar bait movies. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Really, I liked it. Creed 2, really good. Improved on the original. It's still a Rocky movie, it isn't changing the game or anything, but I wasn't bored for a second. Like, I get why Sylvester Stallone was nominated for the first movie, because his performance in that was really standout, but in this one he's sort of sidelined. But Michael B. Jordan, holy heck, he's incredible. 8 out of 10. Ralph Breaks the Internet. Very conflicted on this film. I know I didn't enjoy it very much, but what was it that made me not enjoy it? I'm not completely sure. I can say it's no emoji movie, but it definitely ain't no Lego movie, and it's a lot worse than the original, which is great. This is a 5 out of 10. Worst modern Disney movie. The Disney revival or whatever. Just kind of cookie cutter garbo. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. If they made this movie about Buster Scruggs, it would probably be one of the best of the year. Really enjoyed the first story. The second story is okay, but the rest is boring, pointless, completely lost my attention. Here's my ranking if you're curious. Yeah, 4 out of 10. I'm sorry. Netflix, make a movie I like, please. Like, really like. Roma, another Netflix movie. This one's much better. It's just a chill, well-acted, and well-shot foreign language film. First half of this movie is a little slow, a little dull for my taste, but in the last hour or so, it really it picked up quite a bit. I don't see the genius in it that other people do. 7 out of 10. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm sorry, I hate saying the full title. Just call it Into the Spider-Verse. We don't need to know. We don't need to have spider, like 2 instances of the word spider in the same title. Like, imagine if we had, like, a Batman film called Batman Begins. It's like, no, just call it Batman Begins. Into the Spider-Verse, just call it Into the Spider-Verse. Anyway, unrelated, let's talk about the movie. Second best Spider-Man movie. Didn't beat Homecoming for me. I'm sorry. But it was a very unique spin on the character. They definitely had an understanding of the classic tropes of the comics and expanded it in a way that's never been done before. Now, that's the thing with this movie. This movie really sold me on Miles Morales and Peter B. Parker, but unfortunately not the rest of the Spider-Cast. They didn't get much screen time, and the other 4 heroes served as great plot devices, thematic devices, motivation for Miles, and comedic reliefs, but not really as fleshed out characters that work in this movie. So as much as it does for the mythos and the character of Spider-Man, it had me appreciating this mainly as a setup movie, rather than an amazing film in its own right. 8 out of 10 though. Can't wait to see more animated superhero films in the style, and I think a sequel could really improve on this concept. Lord Miller are some of the best directors working today, and this is no exception. Bumblebee, yeah, I like this. I'm not familiar at all with the Transformers franchise, but everything I've heard about Michael Bay is not present at all in this movie. It's full of cliches, and there's some cornball dialogue, but all of it just feels so classic. They kept the action to a digestible amount and put more of an emphasis on heart and character. I hope this gets enough money so they can sort of continue on from here and sort of reboot the series to hopefully do more justice to the brand. Again, I know nothing about Transformers outside this movie, so I don't know how they'll do that, but nevertheless, I'm excited. Oh. Okay, they're doing Bumblebee and Optimus Prime buddy cop movie. Man, it's so weird how I keep getting news stories in the middle of this very recently written script. 8 out of 10. Aquaman, ocean to ocean. This has been the year of superhero soundtracks. Incredible ones. No, only Black Panther and some bits of Spider-Verse. Anyway, I'm not really gonna vouch for this movie because I didn't really connect with it. But everything James Wan did with the visuals and the action sequences was pretty darn great. This also definitely made Aquaman into a bit of a badass, but also kept that goofy charm of his. The story structure is messy, a lot of humor fell flat, and while this movie in some ways felt distinct from a lot of other films in this genre, it's more than a little predictable. Still, unlike Ant-Man the Wasp and Venom, I can actually understand why people like or even love this movie. It seems like DC is on the right track, at least. I'm just hoping eventually we'll get a truly great film in the DC universe, and for me, this wasn't that. 5 out of 10. Vice. Not a very good Christmas present, this film. No. Being neither eye-opening nor particularly entertaining, this was very below the high bar set by other non-fiction films this year. I really don't know what this did for anyone besides offer surface-level criticism on issues frickin' Michael Moore has articulated much better in the past, and above all else, it was just boring. Worst film I actually sat all the way through this year. 2 out of 10. Black Mirror Bandersnatch. It's kind of difficult to review this movie, if you know what I mean. I guess I'd say it's a 6 based on my kind of weird ending. I don't want to spoil it? I don't know, dude. This is just futile trying to actually review this movie. Definitely a cool concept that I hope can be done better in the future. But good on Netflix for trying. So yeah, there were a lot of great movies this year. A few things I kind of expected to be great were either just okay or even bad. But a lot of the stuff I didn't have high expectations for actually really surprised me. I'm sure most folks' favorite movies lists are very different from mine, so feel free to list your top 10 or whatever in the comments below. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe and turn on notifications if you like my other content for some reason, and as always, I will see you next video. Mighty Roar. Rah.